Welcome back. In the last video, we talked about how Pakistan's rising debt and weakening rupee have pushed our country to the edge, and how Bitcoin could offer a way out. But this time, we're zooming out, way out, to Washington, D.C. Yes, I'm talking about the United States and its $37 trillion debt. And here's the shocking part. That debt is now larger than the economies of China, Japan, Germany, and India combined. Because what's happening here is the biggest reason why your grocery bill, your rent, and your savings here in Pakistan keep losing value. Just a quick note, every figure and report I mention in this video comes from reliable, credible news sources, and you can find all the links in the description below. When a country owes that much money, it really has only two choices. Either tax its people more or quietly reduce the value of its currency. And let's be honest, we all know which one politicians prefer. In America's case, leaders like President Donald Trump have repeatedly pushed the US Federal Reserve, that's their central bank, to cut interest rates. Why? Because lower interest rates make it easier for the government to borrow and spend more money. But in reality, that's just another form of money printing. More dollars are pumped into the system, and over time, every dollar in circulation loses some of its value. By printing more money, America pays back its debt with cheaper dollars. In the first half of 2025 alone, the dollar lost about 11% of its value, according to Morgan Stanley. That helps Washington, but for countries like Pakistan, who hold their savings in US dollars, it's a silent disaster. There's no real plan to stop. When a country's debt gets out of control, it really has only two choices: either raise taxes on its people or quietly make its money worth less over time. And history shows which path most governments take. During World War I and II, both the United Kingdom and Germany printed massive amounts of money to fund their wars. It helped them in the short term, but it also caused their currencies to lose value fast. Germany's case was the most extreme. Prices skyrocketed and their money became almost worthless. The same idea continues today, just with more sophisticated tools. Instead of printing physical notes, countries like the US simply create new money digitally through their central banks. By printing more money, America can pay back its debt with cheaper dollars. On paper, that helps America. But for countries holding dollars like Pakistan, it's a silent disaster. Pakistan's entire reserve system is mostly in US dollars, not gold, not commodities, and definitely not Bitcoin. So when the dollar weakens, our reserves instantly lose real value, yet our dollar-denominated debt becomes harder to repay. It's like your salary shrinking while bills grow. When the US prints more, global investors rush to the dollar, pushing up its demand and making the rupee fall even further. America often inflates its way out of debt, printing more money to manage its financial pressures. But when that happens, countries like Pakistan end up importing that inflation. When the dollar weakens globally, it doesn't translate into a stronger rupee for us. Instead, it magnifies our own economic fragility and raises the cost of everything tied to the dollar. Because we're so heavily dependent on imports like oil, gas, machinery, and even essential raw materials, any global price fluctuation immediately hits us harder than most. As the cost of these imports rises, our industries spend more. Transportation becomes expensive and everyday goods start to cost more for ordinary people. We end up paying more rupees for the very same goods, while our purchasing power keeps shrinking. In simple terms, the rupee doesn't just lose value on paper, it loses value in the lives of every Pakistani trying to make ends meet. In 1947, one US dollar was worth around 3 Pakistani rupees. Today, it's over 280. This is the compounding effect of borrowing and depending on a foreign currency for 75 years. For decades, Pakistan's central bank held dollars as safe reserves. But with US debt exploding and leaders hinting at devaluation, that safe choice could turn catastrophic. America reduces the dollar's worth to shrink its debt, but our country with dollar reserves instantly lose savings. We've tied our lifeboat to a slowly sinking ship. What's fascinating is that while America inflates its currency, it's also quietly exploring alternatives. Under the US Genius Act, there's talk of building a national Bitcoin reserve. The logic: if the dollar weakens, Bitcoin could serve as a hedge for the US government. Even major hedge funds and pension managers are adding Bitcoin to their balance sheets. The same country that built the dollar-based system is preparing an exit strategy, while Pakistan still bets everything on those same dollars. For us, this is a ticking time bomb. If the dollar keeps losing value, our reserves shrink, yet our dollar debts remain. We get poorer faster. If America adopts Bitcoin, Pakistan will be last to adjust. We'll import inflation, borrow more, and watch our rupee slide. This isn't theory, it's history repeating. Every time the US prints money, we pay the price. But it doesn't have to stay this way. Bitcoin gives Pakistan a smart and strategic way to hedge against global uncertainty. Even a small allocation, just 1 to 5% of our national reserves, could make a real difference. That's exactly what some of the world's biggest corporations are already doing: MicroStrategy, Tesla, Fidelity, and BlackRock. And remember, in today's world, these corporations often hold more financial power than entire nation-states. We could mine Bitcoin using our untapped hydro and solar energy, earning a decentralized income. We could even back parts of our trade with Bitcoin settlements to reduce dollar reliance. It's about protecting the rupee. It's about saving Pakistan from becoming collateral damage in someone else's financial war. In my last video, we asked if Bitcoin could be a hope for Pakistan's debt crisis. Now the question is bigger. When America prints its way out of debt, will we keep paying the price, or will we finally choose to hold something no one can print? The world is changing faster than we think. Even the US seems to realize it needs Bitcoin. Maybe it's time Pakistan realizes this before it's too late. But I know many of you might disagree, and that's perfectly fine. Bitcoin is still new, and skepticism is natural. Some call it revolutionary, others call it a scam. So let's talk about it openly. After all, we're at least a hybrid democracy, and that means we should be able to debate ideas that could shape our future. Do you think Pakistan should hold Bitcoin as part of its national reserves? I understand that many of you will say no, and honestly, I get that. I was one of you for years, until I started reading more, learning how the global economy truly works, and realizing that maybe we've been looking at things the same way for too long. I'm not saying I know everything, I am far from it, and keep learning day by day. But let's at least have the conversation. You can agree, disagree, that's fine, but don't stay silent. Let's debate this openly in Pakistan and try to convince each other with new ideas, if not Bitcoin, at least not emotions. That's how awareness grows, and that's how change begins. See you in the next one.